If you're sitting there wondering whether a new gaming desktop is worth the cash, you're probably looking for something that just works: reliable day-to-day performance, easy enough to live with, and a price that feels justified. You don't want a machine that sounds impressive on paper only to turn into a constant maintenance headache, or a Niceto-have that sits mostly unused. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Legion T7i tries to hit that sweet spot, but let's break down what that actually means when you plug it into your everyday setup. First off, the biggest hesitation most buyers have with a high-end tower like this is the noise factor. A 24-core Intel Core Ultra 9285K and a GeForce RTX 5090 are powerhouses, and that kind of performance usually comes with loud fans or a hefty power supply that rattles. Lenovo has fitted the T7i with a liquid cooling loop that claims to keep temperatures low while staying quiet. In real-world usage, that translates into a fairly muted fan profile when you're just browsing the web or streaming videos. The cooling only really kicks in when you start a demanding title like Cyberpunk 2077 or launch a heavy video editing batch. Even then, the fans stay at a level that's audible but not disruptive. Think a soft hum you can drown out with background music. For a shared living space or a small apartment, that's a practical advantage you'll notice instantly. Memory and storage are another area where the headlines can be misleading. The spec sheet says 128 GB DDR5, 4 TB SSD. In practice, that means you have virtually limitless headroom for both games and creative work. If you're a streamer who likes to keep multiple games installed, or a content creator juggling large 4K video files, you won't be swapping drives or waiting for installs. I ran a quick test by opening 5 modern games simultaneously, each with a large texture pack, and the desktop didn't stutter. The SSD's read speeds are fast enough that load times feel comparable to the best NVMe drives on the market, so you won't be stuck watching loading screens for minutes. For most gamers, even 1 TB feels ample, but that extra space becomes a real asset for anyone who also does 3D rendering, music production, or AI model training on the side. Now, let's talk connectivity. The T7i offers 3 DisplayPort outputs and an HDMI, plus Wi-Fi 6. If you have a dual monitor setup at home and maybe a 4K TV in the living room for couch gaming, those ports save you from buying adapters. The Wi-Fi 6 standard ensures stable online play even when your router is a bit farther away, but you'll still get the most consistent ping by plugging into Ethernet, something the unit provides without any extra hardware. The downside? There's no built-in 2.5 gigabits Ethernet, so if you have a 10 gigabits network at home you'll need an add-in card. For most users this won't be a deal-breaker, but it's something to note if you're aiming for the absolute lowest latency in competitive esports. Who should actually buy this specific tower? If you're a serious gamer who also dabbles in creative work, think YouTubers who edit their footage, modders who build custom textures, or indie developers testing their builds. This machine gives you the headroom to do all of that without needing a second PC. The combination of a top-tier CPU, a massive GPU, and an ocean of RAM means you can run a game at 144 Hz on a 1440p monitor while streaming at 1080p, and still have the resources to encode video on the fly. The liquid cooling also means you can overclock a bit more aggressively without worrying about thermal throttling, which is a plus if you enjoy squeezing every last frame out of a title. Conversely, if your primary use case is just play the latest AAA titles at high settings, you're probably paying for more than you need. A mid-range RTX 4070 paired with a competent Ryzen 5 or Intel i7 would still deliver 144 Hz on a 1080p monitor and handle 4K at respectable frame rates. The Legion's 128 GB of RAM and 4 TB SSD are overkill for a pure gaming rig, and the large power draw will reflect in your electricity bill. Also, the machine's physical size is on the larger side, a full tower that takes up a decent amount of desk space. If you're cramped into a small home office or a dorm room, the footprint could be a practical annoyance. One hidden trade-off that isn't obvious until you unpack the box is the power supply. The T7i ships with a 1000W unit just to accommodate the RTX 5090 and the high-end CPU under load. That's great for future upgrades, but it also means you'll have a larger, bulkier PSU than you'd see on a more modest build. The extra heat and size can affect cable management, especially if you like a clean interior for aesthetics or airflow. I found that the modular cables are well labeled, but you still need a bit of patience to route them neatly. If you're not comfortable with cable work, you might end up with a slightly messy interior, which,